All right, good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Today, me and Bison are going to start a new path of our World of Warships journey. We are going to be starting a podcast together. It's going to be called the World of Warships Show, as you can see in the title, of course. And we are going to be doing a weekly podcast, if possible, of course, when we're able. And we're just going to cover various World of Warships topics like updates, dev blogs, patch notes. We're going to try and invite guests and stuff. But yeah, so let's start off by introducing ourselves. Well, let me start off, of course, myself here, if Bison doesn't mind. So I'm MalteseKnight. I'm a World of Warships streamer, of course, as you know. I also upload on YouTube. And of course, I am very experiencing competitive, of course. I've played on both NA and EU at this point in some of the top clans on the regions. I've played in 07, of course, Devastating Strike, as you know if you've watched my Twitch or YouTube. And I've also played now in PTA. I've just joined them because I've just switched region a few months ago. But yeah, that's pretty much my introduction. Bison, how's about you?
Well, as Malta said, I am Bison. I also have been playing World of Warships competitively for a long time. I play on both servers. On NA, I'm in Yikes, or also known as WMI, also known as Gaishu's Clan. On EU, I am in Rain. Adam and I have known each other for many years before either of us were streamers. I am also a streamer and community contributor, and I upload YouTube videos extremely rarely because I am lazy. And the third member of our team is also in both the clans that I am in. His name is Kevin. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, everyone.
And so, with the intros done, I just want to briefly go into what is this show about? Why are we doing this? Well, Adam and I talked about it, and we thought that it would be a fun idea to do a podcast. We love talking about the game. We do it a lot when we're playing together on stream. And it's just a fun forum where we can talk about stuff like Malta said, recent developments, new ships, clan battles, all that type, with a specific angle that we have being, competitive players and being in the competitive scene for a long time. We can give, I think, a unique perspective that perhaps other World of Warships content is not able to give. We also plan to bring on new guests every week. We will not have a guest this week because it's the first episode. We wanted to kind of, figure it out and just give a nice little taste of what's to come. But, we have a lot of guests lined up that I think you guys will enjoy. Maybe some people from Wargaming that we can bring in to talk about stuff, other big streamers and content creators. So I think it's going to be really cool. And we're both really excited to get this thing going. So for the first topic today, with the full release of the French large cruisers, super heavy cruisers, battle cruisers, whatever you want to call them, we're just going to talk about our opinions of the line and whether or not we think it's worth grinding. So Malta, why don't you give your 2 cents on the new French cruisers?
Well, so here it is. Here's the Marseille, the tier 10 cruiser, of course, the new one. It just got released in update 11.6, I believe, right? Yes, 11.6. And now everyone has access to it in the tech tree. Well, in my opinion, honestly, I do actually enjoy these ships quite a fair amount. They can actually farm quite a lot of damage in randoms. And of course, that's kind of what I enjoy from random battles. But they, of course, have big caliber guns, slow reload. Kind of interesting dispersion sometimes. They have a lot of HP, of course. As we know, they burn for 60 seconds because they are super heavy cruisers with no ability to put fire prevention on them. But for a cruiser with a 330 millimeter main caliber gun, which I believe is the second highest main caliber gun on a cruiser right after Siegfried, Siegfried is 380 millimeters. This is a cruiser that goes around 41 knots, I think, Bison, right? 41 knots at
I think so, yeah.
top speed. So I think it's actually pretty interesting for sure in a design. I mean, from the games I've played it around 30 times so far. I've had quite a good time in it in randoms. So what do you think in it?
Well, Marseille is weird to me because on paper, yeah, it's got the big guns. Yeah, it's pretty fast, but it does have a lot of downsides, which you sort of touched on with the 60-second fires. Uh, the reload is pretty long. It has 25 millimeter bow, and it can take really heavy AP salvos from battleships. But for some reason, whenever I play it, it feels better in game than just the on paper stats. Like I feel like every time I play Marseille, it just works and it just feels really good. And you mentioned that it's good in randoms. I've mostly played it in ranked, and I honestly think it's better in a smaller format, smaller teams, because instead of having to sit and permakite the entire game, you can really get deep on a flank, shove, stay bow in, because you really kind of want to be bow in with the 3-gun layout in the front. The reload booster is really nice. The AP is very strong. French AP is really strong. The fire chance is like insane. 30
37 on my build with these fire flags. So it's around 30
yeah, it's
35%.
35 base. And pen's 55 millimeters, so you pen Russian cruisers. Unfortunately, you don't pen Kremlin. But yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty decently strong and they're really fun. I'm a pretty big fan of the line. I think it's a good design, and I would also say that it's relatively balanced, which is nice. It's always nice to see well balanced lines come into the game, and I would say the best aspect that it has is the speed. It feels like when you have the speed boost up, you're just able to move, man. It's like old Henry with how fast you can accelerate.
It is
It's
very
really
fast.
it's really easy to dodge shells.
Even the acceleration is it just feels better than Henry for sure.
Mm.
Especially after the nerfs.
So in terms of the fun factor, I would rank it pretty high, like maybe like an 8 out of 10 or something. In terms of meta, where do you see it?
Like in
Like
comp?
in comp, yeah.
I just think it's very hard to like justify the pick in comp because you have to like fight things like Napoli, right? Which outspot you, right? Out tank you, I believe. At least because Napoli doesn't even burn for 60 seconds and has better armor plating. And well, even though it's really fast and really cool, I think it could have a place, to be honest. Especially since it's actually, I think we forgot to mention, its concealment's really good. 11.6 for a cruiser of this size and gun caliber. It's actually really good concealment. I still think you have to fight. You have to know that you're gonna be fighting Napolis and ships like these, and it might be a bit dangerous, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree. You're sort of it sort of has a similar issue that Stalingrad has. Stalingrad is not nearly as meta as it used to be, and that's primarily due to the fire, not being able to take fire prevention, and taking 60-second fires really is an issue. And unlike Stalingrad, which has the 50 millimeter deck, this has 36 millimeter deck, so you're basically penned by most HE. And it doesn't bring any utility. Like Stalingrad brings a radar, right?
Yeah.
So you can sort of kind of offset, or you can make an argument that the farmability of a Stalin can be somewhat offset by the utility it brings. But I would say that it sort of fills I don't want to say it fills like the same role as a Stalin, because it doesn't. It's not static. It's not just sitting there bow in as a radar bot. You can maneuver it. You can get it onto flanks, but under heavy focus fire, just don't see it having a huge impact on the comp meta. And it also doesn't have torpedoes, so unlike a Napoli, like you mentioned, for example, it doesn't really have that YOLO potential. that a Napoli has.
No, and you have to keep in mind it has like a 21-second reload, even though it has the reload booster, which is like crazy. Like in a real situation, you're being like almost out reloaded by certain battleships at tier, so you have to keep that in mind. And you have no like actual overmatch, right, over 25, because the guns are too low caliber, right? So
yeah, no overmatch except for Minnow, which is, well, I guess Minnow and some light cruisers,
Volbear and
right?
stuff, yeah. So
Smolensk.
yeah, unplayed cruisers, yeah.
Feels like every new cruiser line that gets released overmatches Minotaur. It's really sad.
But yeah, so there's the Marseille, right? We talked about the Marseille.
Mhm.
There's the Brest. Have you played the Brest at all?
No, I don't really play under tier 10 like test ships and stuff. I usually just free XP to the tier 10. I've heard Brest is okay though.
I'll just describe the Brest because I've played it quite a fair amount in ranked. Like it's actually a really good ship. Like I was expecting on paper the stats made it look really like upsetting and not really interesting. The reload was worse than, for example, Jump Bar and stuff, and you know, things like this. I thought Jump Bar was just straight up better, but really and truly, if you get into games, it actually is pretty good actually, especially in ranked. I found it like in randoms I didn't have as much fun in it, but in ranked I actually had a really good time in it. Like Brest. Cherbourg, I can't really talk about it because I actually haven't played it. All I know is a lot of people that talk to me about it say it's pretty underwhelming. So I don't know, I haven't tried it at all, but people are saying it's pretty underwhelming.
I've heard the same thing, that it's pretty junk. I mean, it has a 28-second reload with 8 guns. So I mean, isn't that like the same reload as Richelieu?
Maybe, yeah. Probably like Richelieu has like, well, I don't actually have it here, but
I'm pulling it up right now.
Gascon has the same reload, so I assume it has the same reload.
So Richelieu has a 30-second reload, but it has 380s.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cherbourg has a 28-second reload
and 330s. No, 305s actually. 305s.
So it's kind of just like a bad, way worse armored Richelieu.
Yeah, do you get a heal though? You do get a heal, which is nice, I guess, for a tier 8 cruiser. I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess, because normally you don't really get a heal, so that's kind of comfortable, I guess. But from what I heard is, and I haven't really played this ship, so I can't really give you a full opinion on it. It's not that good. That's what I heard.
Kevin, I know you've been really enjoying the Marseille. You were, as you've mentioned to us quite a few times, you are on pace to be #1 on the leaderboard. So, what's your take on Marseille?
I think it's definitely really fun playing randoms. The HE fire starting is actually, it was surprising me when I first started playing it because I thought it would be lower, but the fire chance is quite good per salvo if you hit a lot of your shells, and the ship is fast enough to where you can drag a favorable angle to crossfire with your teammates in randoms, so you don't have to completely rely on them, which allows you to deal a lot of damage, and the AP penetration is quite good. So you are able to citadel even battleships sometimes if they give you a good angle. And the armor is, you can be quite resistant with the 36mm and 30mm side to most cruiser HE, from light cruisers and lower tier cruisers. The real problem is the 457mm battleships, or battleships that overmatch 30.
Baby.
You take so much damage, and since your ship is so large, it's really unmitigatable, especially at close range when they can't even hit your deck. That is the main armor belt.
Yeah, I was playing Kremlin the other day, and I hit an angled Marseille for like 40k double citadel. I think it was at like, I don't know, 16 kilometers too. So I think I must have hit the upper belt, the 30mm upper belt. That's the only way I can think that I would get a salvo like that. So I guess all in all, I'm pretty happy with the line. It's like we said, I don't think it's going to really shake up the meta, but more lines like this, which are, you know, definitely strong, but I wouldn't call them overpowered. I think it's a pretty well designed, good line, and I think they're a pretty good addition to the game.
Definitely, yeah. I think the fact that the guns are actually really good is okay, because the utility the actual ship brings obviously isn't too crazy. Obviously, you really can't spot for yourself. Like, I mean, you can, but you don't really have radar, so you can't really deal with destroyers too well unless someone spots them for you, obviously, right? But yeah, I think it's a fairly balanced line, even though it's very fun to play and it's honestly pretty strong. It is a fairly balanced line, to be honest.
If there's one thing you could change about it, what would it be?
Honestly, nothing. I think it's honestly, I don't really. I've actually really enjoyed like playing this, and I wouldn't really change anything about it. Like, what would you change? Like, actually,
If I had to change one thing without potentially making it overpowered, is some way or some adjustment to the armor to where it doesn't eat like these massive AP salvos from weird angles, like I mentioned before. Like I did not expect when I shot a Marseille to like 40 km at the angle that he was at. And I've had that happen to me in Marseille before as well, like just eating massive AP salvos from weird angles. So that's like the one thing that I would change, and I don't think it would be like super OP. It just, you wouldn't be randomly eating 40k while angled. But that's just cruiser life, I guess. I don't know.
yeah. I guess one thing you could also change instead is 60-second fire duration on cruisers. At least make it like 45, not 30, 45.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something we could definitely have an entire topic on at some point. The 60-second fires and the inability to take fire prevention or even basics of survivability on these super cruisers. Maybe it's a balancing decision from wargaming. Maybe it's intentional, so they don't, completely overshadow regular cruisers. But some ships, especially the Dutch line, I don't think deserve 60-second fires. It's a bit over the top.
Definitely, yeah. Honestly.
So
yeah.
I was just gonna say, up next on the agenda is the upcoming Tier 8 clan battle season.
Okay.
Now, I've talked to some people in my clan. Some of them aren't super enthused about Tier 8. I've talked to other people in the community who aren't necessarily super enthused about Tier 8, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like most people agree that Tier 10 is probably the best. Although, and tell me if you feel the same way, Malta, but the last 3 seasons have been Tier 10. I guess the last one had the super ships, the Tier 11s, but I think it's the last 3 have been Tier 10. We've seen very similar metas in all 3. A lot of Napoli spam, a lot of Smoke Nevsky spam. To me, it's getting kind of stale. And I think Tier 8, we haven't had a Tier 8 clan battle season in probably like 3 years. A lot of new ships have been introduced. And I think it could actually be a bit of a fun change up, especially because there's no aircraft carriers.
I mean, I think that's the goal, like, with Wargaming making this season, right? I think the fact is, even though we love Tier 10 comp, and Tier 10 comp is, like, what we want to play and stuff, sometimes we just need a break. Like, sometimes we just need a break. And that's why those Tier 6 seasons were happening. And, maybe that Tier 9 season, if you remember that season. I think having that break is fine, because we always kind of play in the same meta, like you said. The Tier 10 season, which was one ship limitation, if you remember that, it was pretty much the same almost strats of every team the entire season. The next season, they literally copied the exact, like, what's the word? Like, requirements?
Yeah.
Or limitations, yeah. So they just cloned the limitations, and we basically just had the exact same season, part 2. Except then they removed a ban on, like, a ship or something, or they banned Petro or something. I think they just banned Petro, for example. But that didn't really change much about the meta. really and truly, it was just basically 2 seasons, which is around, I think, 4 months or let's say 3 months in lifespan in 1 year, which is just the same exact meta. And then recently, of course, the latest season was Super Ships and Tier 10, which was very similar in the meta. Of course, we had to take 2 Super Ships, right? Double Condi most of the time. I think it mostly like the top clans on EU took double Condi, including ours,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's just, it was pretty much almost the same season again, like 3 seasons in a row. And I think the fact is, maybe, you know, this is a different approach. Maybe it's a break, you know, even for like good players, maybe they just want to as well, like, it could be a good break. I mean, playing the same season over and over again can be really frustrating and boring, and just makes the game very stale, as you said.
I think that if they introduce different limitations on tier 10, for example, what I would do to make tier 10 comp more interesting and maybe do some different, see some more varied strats and not a cookie cutter meta, is ban some of the ships that have been, you know, must picks for years. I'm talking Smaland. I think you could probably throw Ragnar in, even though Ragnar, I don't think was that meta last season because of the super ships. Kremlin, I would ban. Petro, and Napoli. I think if you ban like those ships, you would see potentially a lot more interesting strats. But for some reason, like Smalin never gets banned from clan battles, even though it's basically a must-have. Kremlin's been the battleship choice ever since it's been introduced. And now we have Napoli is basically a must-pick every time. So I guess the next best thing is going down to a different tier. And I don't know. I'm kind of excited. What do you think is going to be some of the meta choices, meta comps that we're going to see?
So I think before we do that, I think we should just look at the maps first. What do you think?
Oh, oops. Yeah. I don't even know what maps are going to be on. So yeah.
So I have the dev blog. I think I just have to pull it up. All right, so here are the maps. This is the dev blog that Wargaming has posted, the most recent dev blog of 11.7 closed testing. This is the latest information we have on the maps. So as we know, the season is going to be held between the 15th of August and the 3rd of October. So we have around a month and a half of clan battles again. 6v6 this time. Last time I believe it was 7v7, right, Bison?
Yes.
Yes, so aircraft carriers cannot participate, of course, and there will be only 1 battleship per team, so pretty standard, honestly. The maps are Ring, New Dawn, Islands of Ice, Trident, Loop, Haven, and Crash Zone Alpha. So the one map that actually kind of shocked me for Tier 8 is Ring. What do you think? Like, Ring is super small for a map, like in terms of size.
That's like a Tier 4 map.
Yeah.
That thing's super tiny.
Like, for Tier 8, it's like a Baltimore radar. If you put it on, for example, like a rock or something, let's say not Baltimore, but like any 10 km radar, you put it on the rock, you just cover like the entire 3 caps.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Also, that like mid area is just like Battleship Ram Central, which, if I recall, that was basically the meta in the last Tier 8 season, was people would take like Vlad or Lenin and just ram each other.
Yeah, Vlad, Lenin, Romas, and I think you guys ran a Tirpids. Well, guys, yeah,
Tirpids for like Torps. The torping.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is Ring. Trident is, I think, workable because it's already been played last season in Tier 10. Well, 2 seasons ago in Tier 10. Haven, pretty standard map, actually has been played quite a fair amount. Crash Zone Alpha, pretty big map as well. And we are actually getting the full sizes of the Tier 10 maps, because there was a Tier 6 season where the maps were reduced in size. These are full-size maps, of course. And there's New Dawn, which is also, I think, a really small map, actually, as well.
Yeah.
It's like a Tier 4 map.
Super small. Yeah, New Dawn's super small.
And
so it's a weird combination of like full-size Tier 10 maps and tiny low-tier maps. So I wonder if that's going to impact what comps people bring, because something that might work on a big high tier map, I'm thinking like French destroyers, where the speed will allow you to get to places quickly, is going to be less impactful on a map where everything is right next to each other.
Yeah, you can be like layout, everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you also have to keep in mind you are playing tier 10 maps at the same time. So
Yeah.
those like rotation power, like, you know, Kleber, no, well, actually Lafantas and La Terribles could be really useful for the big maps. And maybe teams will just find a way to make them like used on these small maps too. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Maybe more YOLO style on that, I guess, on the smaller maps. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be weird. So I guess we could.
Talk about chip picks, I guess.
Yeah. Let's go talk about ship picks.
Okay.
We'll go through like each class and what you think is going to be like the strongest picks.
So let's start off with like, I think we should just start off with the battleship just to be simple and easy.
Yeah.
I think honestly the most famous battleships are gonna be these. Lenin, right? Vladivostok.
Mhm.
Maybe we could see, I don't know though. Maybe we could see the Borodino action. The
I was
issue,
thinking
yeah.
Borodino maybe, but
The only issue it has is the armor, right? Because it's 25
yeah,
millimeters. Like,
yeah.
it's
So
significantly less tanky. Yeah.
it'll get smashed by a Vlad or Lenin like through the face.
Like, why do we say Borodino, by the way? It's because it has a 12 km radar, right? 25 seconds. You can mount radar mode on it as well to extend it. That's pretty much it. That's the kind of the only reason you bring a Borodino, right, over a Lenin, because of the radar. It's obviously less tanky, and you have to be careful when you play Borodino into Lenin, because Lenin can literally overmatch this entire nose, right? It's huge, right? Whilst you can't even overmatch him in return, so, you know, you have to be pretty careful in that regard. But I think those three battleships are probably going to be the highest picks. You could obviously see Romas and stuff like last time because of their armor and stuff, if you angle it well. Torpedo battleships. I don't think we're going to see too many Tirpitzes, to be honest. I don't know. I think the guns are just not up there.
I've got a couple sleeper picks, okay? So my first one I think is actually going to be, could be really viable, is the Zeton. The tier 8 in the Schlieffen line.
Okay, the battle cruiser.
The battle cruiser, yeah. I mean, it's
because of the hydro and like the secondaries and the guns are actually relatively accurate, right?
Yeah, I think Zeton is actually, in my opinion, like the most balanced ship in the Schlieffen line, because I think the 7, 9, and 10 are egregiously overpowered. The Zeton, because it only has 6 guns and a giant forehead that you can farm, is actually like the most balanced, but it's got torpedoes, 12-kilometer torpedoes actually, although it only has...
They're very slow, right? Yeah, they go 50 knots.
Yeah, they're really slow, but I mean, the YOLO potential on them is really strong.
Yeah.
And obviously the secondaries and all that jazz, I think could potentially be useful. And then the other one that I was thinking about is Kansas.
Because they buffed it.
Yeah, because Vermont sort of became pretty meta last season after the buff. Kansas is not Vermont, but it does have 12-406s. It does have the quick heal, it does have the acceleration, but it is covered in 32 everywhere. So if people take, you know, ships that can pen 32, you're going to get melted. Since we are talking about battleships, and our lovely producer Kevin is the BB main of note, I do want to get his 2 cents on it. Like, if you were picking a battleship right now, Kevin, what would it be for the tier 8 season?
I would probably pick Vladivostok because that ship is OP, and I don't have Lenin because they took it away. So that would be my ship of choice.
Do you prefer Vlad over Lenin, or would you take Lenin if you had it?
I think both are about the same. There's some drawbacks to Vlad and some drawbacks to Lenin.
I heard Vladivostok has better concealment. I don't know if that's like too useful.
It has a kilometer better concealment.
Yeah.
Which is kind of OP. So
yeah,
I would probably pick Vlad if you had to force me to make a choice.
Okay.
Well, then the next up is cruisers. Which I think will be the least popular ship choice in this upcoming season, because tier 8 destroyers are, generally speaking, much stronger than their tier 8 cruiser counterparts.
Yeah, like compared to tier 10 destroyers, compared to like tier 10 cruisers, tier 8 destroyers do basically share like a lot of roles with the tier 8 cruisers, like in terms
Hmm.
of firepower. And of course, they outclass them in the spotting capability, and they outclass them because they can't, get citadeled and stuff. And most cruisers at this tier don't even have a heal, right? So
Right.
you have to keep that in mind. So for cruiser picks, I think if you bring a smokescreen, you could use
Hmm.
Chapayev. I think could be a good pick.
Hmm.
Ochakov, maybe. Belfast
Ochakov's
43, yeah.
Ochakov's kind of junk.
It's
Ochakov's
it's it's not
kind of
it's
junk.
it's actually pretty bad, yeah. But it has a radar. I mean, yeah, it's actually pretty bad. I think you should always bring a Chapayev over Ochakov, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, actually, forget the Ochakov pick. But then you have a Belfast 43. I think it's actually okay because of that.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
People flame it and say it's bad, but I actually think it's okay.
I think the reason people say it's bad is because the guns are literally worse than the tier 7 variant of Belfast, like by 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I think
which is
that's
kind of funny.
yeah.
But
Because actually, in reality, Belfast 43 is an older refit version, like an older version of Belfast at tier 7. Belfast at tier 7 is a 1950s or something refit model of the Belfast. So I think that's why. But what I would love to see Tigers being picked, but they're probably not going to be picked, to be honest.
yeah. Yeah.
I think a strong pick at tier 8, which can actually deal with destroyers pretty well, is the Atago pick because of the armor
Mhm.
and the heal. It has good armor, good HE, of course, alpha, and good dispersion. It has the destroyer dispersion. It has higher top speed than Akizuki, for example, right? So it's actually relatively fast as a cruiser. If you put on the speed flag, of course, it goes around, if we can check really fast, 37.3 knots. I mean, it has a lot of HP too, so it's actually a pretty good ship. It has good concealment as well. What do you think, Bison? What else could you think be picked, maybe?
We saw a lot of radar Edinburghs in the last tier 8 season.
Yeah.
So we might see those again as well. I think at tier 8, radar Edinburgh is a lot more competitive than radar Minnow is at tier 10 right now. It actually has like better armor. It's way more difficult to citadel an Edinburgh than a Minotaur. Belfast 43, I think, could be interesting for sure. Like you said, Atago. I don't. People asked about Kudasov, I think, and I don't think Kudasov is that good. I don't think we saw them that much in the last tier 8 season.
I don't think it gives you enough, right? Like, Chapayev gives you the
No.
radar, at least. Like, Kuduzov
Yeah.
kind of just sits in smoke.
Yeah. There's some ships that I would want to see, but I don't think we will, are like mines. Because I think if like a smoked up mines has just insane DPM. But
Yeah. I was thinking of mentioning it, actually. It's just the issue is the concealment's really bad. Like,
mhm.
really bad.
The smoke fire is really bad too. I was super surprised.
It's really bad.
It's,
I believe it's like 9 or 8.7 or 8.5 or something.
8.4. 8.4.
Okay, yeah. Mhm.
So that's really bad.
Mm.
Congress, initially I was like, that might be kind of viable because it's sort of like an Alaska, so pretty tanky with 305s, but it only has what, 6 guns?
No,
Seven guns.
Yeah.
But I think against like an Akazuki comp or something, it's just gonna get torched.
Smashed, yeah.
Um,
It's a good pick, I think, if you have a smoke for it. Bayern. But if you have a smoke for it, because the concealment's actually incredible on it.
Yeah. One ship that I'm actually interested in seeing, because I think people will definitely use it, is Tone. Especially if you bring like a couple Tones with the planes, the torps, torp planes, you can use that as spotting. And if you have like a couple of them, you can like cross drop, cruisers or the BB or something. So, and it's basically an Atago with like one less gun, right? So
it does have worse armor, you have to keep in mind, but
It has worse armor. Oh yeah, actually, it has way worse armor.
The speed is still the same, right? So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it has better concealment, and it has
Oh, yeah.
really good torpedoes, like 10-kilometer torpedoes.
This is 8.8 detection, by the way, for tier 8.
I know.
That's
I
kind of
know.
crazy.
Yeah.
Especially since it gives you the planes, like they just give you so much spotting, right? Even then, like you could just use them for spot bots almost. Like, okay, where's the enemy destroyer? I don't know. Okay, let me go check. You know, and you can just go check. And the thing is, there's no carriers available, so having tone available might be kind of cringe.
Yeah, I could definitely see putting like one in a comp just for the plane spotting. Could be really interesting. That's like about it, I guess, for cruisers. I mean, maybe people will run like Baltimore's or something like that, but not like having a heal at tier 8 is so strong for cruisers.
Yeah, Tone has a heal too, by the way. I think we mentioned that. But...
Yeah. Destroyers, I would say that's the most interesting.
Oh yeah.
The most interesting class for tier 8 CVs. What are your top picks, you think?
So I'm gonna say Orkan starting off. I think Orkan is like very like Smurf, I think. Like
yeah, I agree 100%.
Thing is, in Verizon, this thing was used. Like, it's good. It has a radar. I've tried it in randoms actually recently. It's actually pretty good. Like, the torps are alright. The guns are actually, I mean, the reload's not crazy, but if you build Fearless Brawler and stuff, since it has no smoke, so you can. It can be a good radar boat for supporting ships behind it. And by that, I mean, like, Lefantas, right? Le Terribles, Kievs. Ships like these, mostly the French, I think. Less so Kiev. I think Kiev can be really good. But I think having like a pack or something of 2 or 3 Le Terribles behind an Orkan or something, you find the destroyer, what does he do? He just dies, right? If you catch one out, obviously. But yeah, speaking of other top picks, I think Le Terrible is gonna be a very top pick. I think for destroyers, it's incredible. The gun performance is incredible. The speed is incredible. Of course, Le Fantasque is very similar. Le Fantasque actually has a 1 second worse reload on its main guns, but it trades that for a longer duration speed boost, better concealment, and better YOLO potential with the torps, right? And it actually has more range too. So it actually trades terrible for the 1 second of reload, trades quite a lot for that 1 second. But 1 second on 5 guns on a French destroyer might be huge, right?
That's pretty big, yeah. It's pretty big.
Yeah. Another top pick for destroyers, which was picked a lot last time, is Cossack, right? So Cossack has incredible concealment. It has incredible maneuverability due to the British acceleration plus the speed boost. You get both on the Cossack. You get a Hydro. You get British smokes, which you could use with your teammates. The guns are okay, I guess. They're not incredible. The torps are okay as well at best. But yeah, Cossack is pretty good.
Cossack is amazing. The one thing that I would be hesitant about using a Cossack this season is Orkan, like you said, because I think an Orkan, I mean, I don't know about like the reload disparity between the two, but the fact is that the Orkan has a heal, so the Orkan can outtrade a Cossack over the course of a game, and basically renders the concealment of the Cossack, unimportant.
Orkan concealment's around, it's 5.9, so it's actually like really good. Cossack is 5.5, but at the same time, you're gonna spot him, radar,
Exactly, yeah.
So, or you smoke, radar, so you have to be really careful around those.
Yeah.
I think another one, Bison, would be maybe, I don't think it's too special, like, it's good, but I don't know if people are actually gonna pick it. You would pick it for the smoke, I think, the smoking potential it has. USS Kid, maybe, because you have the smoke and the heal. Yeah. You can engage in trades, unlike Benson, for example. This thing has a heal. It has Fletcher almost HP pool at tier 8, because it is a Fletcher class destroyer at tier 8. The heal really helps you in those engagements, and if you get radar, you take like 4k damage. It doesn't really matter too much. You can heal it back up. You're okay, So I think Kid could also be somewhat useful. Any other ships? You think?
Kid has like insane survivability, and I think and it could actually trade into an Orkan fine. So yeah, I think if you're running a smoke comp, like Kid would be really strong. And I think the only ones that you didn't talk about that strike my eye is Kiev. We saw a lot of Kievs last time.
Mhm.
It's sort of like which DD, like fast DD spam do you want to take? Do you want to take Kievs or do you want to take French DDs? Kievs have the heal, which makes them a little bit more survivable, but they're not nearly as fast and they don't have the same YOLO potential. And also Akazukis. We ran like Akazuki spam in the tier 8 season and it was really strong. So like an Akazuki can absolutely melt tier 8 cruisers in no time at all.
Yeah, it has penetration and stuff, and it has, I mean, 8 guns, right? The only issue is I guess its maneuverability is really bad. That's its
It's a big
downside.
brick, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big brick and it's slow.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have very good arcs, so like trading with Kievs or the Terribles is not that good for multiple Akazukis. But in general, I think we're going to see a lot of DD, like heavy DD comps. That's probably going to be like the meta. What DDs people take, we're probably going to have to wait and see. But I would imagine it's going to be a pretty DD heavy meta.
That's what I think as well, yeah.
Oh, one thing before we move on that I wanted to talk about regarding the tier 8 clan battle season. It's something that I'm not a fan of. Is I don't know if you heard this, but they're keeping the 3 Merc slots, even though it's a 6v6.
6v6 with 3 mercs.
So, and Wargaming confirmed this. So, you can legit have half of your team be mercs, and to me, that just kind of defeats the purpose of clan battles in a way. You know?
Yeah, because it
seems like a lot.
Like if like let's say a clan, like, you know, let's say that they're 3 of their own clan and then 3 of another clan. Like, it's cool and all, you get to play with your friends a bit more. That's cool. But is it really like clan battles, right?
No.
Like you said, because it's not really clan battles if it's like 3 people from one clan, 3. It's like 50-50, right? You just play on one rating, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cool.
And it also
it's cool for those people who can't get a team, right? But it's 6v6
for sure.
So you should be able to get a team, yeah.
For sure, but it also, and like people kind of get made fun of when they go on Reddit and make these posts complaining like, "Oh, I'm in Storm and, you know, we came against a team with 3 Unicums and we got smashed." And like, you know, people make fun of them for that, but I actually kind of feel for them. Like, that kind of sucks. Like, imagine you're, you know, a Storm clan and you're in the struggle for Typhoon, and then you come against another Storm team, but they have 3 mercs from, you know, Penta or Rain or 07 or Yikes, and it's like, oh, cool.
We just auto lose,
you know?
Yeah.
Like, that sucks.
It wouldn't be fun, that's for sure. It wouldn't be fun at all.
Like, I think 3 mercs even in a 7v7 is a little too much. I think 2 would be fine, but 3 mercs in a 6v6 is just, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Maybe it's because they want this to be... I mean, it's clan battles at the end of the day, but maybe they want it to be a bit more casual, in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, since it's...
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I mean, you know?
Yeah. It's just one thing, and it also allows, you know... I mean, like, let's be real. Like, 3 Super Unicums could easily boost, like, a low Typhoon clan to Hurricane.
Oh yeah.
So it allows stuff like that, and I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it. If it helps clans, you know, able to form that otherwise wouldn't be able to, then I guess it's a necessary evil. But I just think three mercs is too many for a 6v6.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm off my soapbox. So, in addition to the upcoming clan battle season, there's also a tournament, Warships Masters, that's coming in a week, August 6th and August 7th. It is a tournament that's put on by mine and Kevin's NA clan, and it is a very cool and exciting tournament. And this is the first time we're actually officially sanctioned by Wargaming, so there will be prizes supplied by Wargaming, and we're gonna have their support, and they'll be casting it and all that stuff. So we're really excited for that, and it's a really good tournament to watch. So I'll give you a brief description of what the tournament is. Basically, the idea behind it was to make clan battles more meaningful, in the sense that normally in clan battles, if your team doesn't get first place, then there's basically there's nothing else. Yeah, sure, you get rewards and stuff, but there's no incentive really for other teams to push their hurricane rating higher. So a lot of teams just get to hurricane and then stop playing. The thing with WMI is it takes the top 4 teams from Asia, NA, and Europe in the last clan battle season, and those are the teams that get invited to the tournament. So it's to encourage people to try to get into the top 4. And I think it was actually pretty effective this season, because people were definitely playing until the end and trying to get those Warship Masters spots. The format of the tournament is very unique as well, and I think Malta can probably bring up the points list. But basically, instead of just being able to take any ship that you want, like in clan battles or COTS, not counting the ships that are banned, no ships in Warship Masters are banned. However, each ship is given a point value, and you have 300 points that you can use to create a comp. So if you want to take, a super meta ship, so let's say Kremlin, it's going to be really expensive, and so you're going to have to cut costs in other areas. So you can do different strategies, like take a couple really strong ships and then a bunch of weak ships, or try to have a more well-rounded lineup. In the last one, a lot of teams just decided to not take a battleship because battleships are expensive for obvious reasons. And it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really exciting. What do you...
I mean, it seems like a pretty interesting tournament, design, right? And I'm really happy, it incentivizes these top clans instead of just to stop. I mean, most of these clans would play, but really and truly, if let's say someone's leading the season by a lot, right? And you just don't have willpower and you don't really care to catch up, this incentivizes those other teams to be like, okay, but we can get second place here, and we can actually get a good seed for WMI, right? And this is what kind of happened this season. And we have the 4 clans from each region, which are these clans. So we have PTA, Oh Boy, Shaft, and Rain. KSC, is this Elizer? What, Rain?
Elser?
Elser?
Oh, Elysian. I think it's Elysian Realm.
Okay.
I think that's the full name.
07 and 007. And then Hafa for FFD and Ayaya. But remember, of course, on NA, Gaishu's clan did win the season, but they're not participating because they are the hosts of the tournament, and they don't want any, conflicting interests or, biases, I guess, in a way.
It would be, well, one, it would be a little sussy, and 2, we're the ones that, organize it, and referees, and I'm going to be streaming it and stuff. Are you going to be playing, or are you going to be streaming?
No, I'm actually going to be on vacation, so I'm not going to be doing any. I wish I was doing something, but I'm going to be on vacation that weekend, which is next weekend.
Right.
Unfortunate.
Guess we can't cast together.
No, but we have another tournament we can cast in the future, and we'll talk about it in a future episode.
True.
Sure.
So you have the point lists up there. Like what? I guess what stands out to you as some ships that are maybe overvalued, and maybe some ships that are undervalued.
So obviously this is a 7v7 tournament, and I think it's based on the same limitations as Clan Battles was, right? 2 super ships? Is that correct?
No, you can have one super ship.
Okay, you can have one super ship. There are super ships in it, so as we can see from the list, we have Zorkis and Yamagiris and on these.
There's a special. Let me see. There's a special rule involving super ships. So you see how they're like the same price as some of the non-super ships.
Yeah.
So you might be thinking like how is an Annapolis the same price as a Des Moines?
Yeah.
Well, basically we have a special rule called the flagship rule, where basically you get to pick a super ship before the game, and if that ship sinks, like if that ship dies, you can't use that super ship for the rest of the tournament. For
example, wow, really?
Yeah, so let's say you pick an Annapolis and it dies, you can pick another super ship, but you can't pick Annapolis again.
That's interesting, actually. That's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, so it's going to add an interesting wrinkle into the tournament. I want to see someone, like I want to see a strat of like somebody picking like a leg mod Kleber or something, and then just trying to suicide their super ship. I think it's going to create some interesting strategies, because like, for example, in the first round, a team like Penta, like, are they going to use, a Conde or something in the first round in a ship, or against a team that they can probably win against relatively easily? Are they going to save it till the end, whereas the other team's going to go like all out and use like a Conde? It's going to be interesting. But
just bring Hanover, bro. GG.
True.
Go next.
But yeah, so like what sticks out to you as ships that are like overpowered or underpowered, or overvalued or undervalued, and what seems like a good value, I guess?
Well, from the brief look I can see, I mean, to be honest, I think Colombo's really expensive. Thoughts?
Colombo's really strong though.
It can be pretty good, but
like
it hasn't been used in a while now, right?
There were teams using it last season. 07 was using it. Yeah, 07 was using it.
Okay.
We also there's people in Yikes think have very strong opinions on Colombo.
Okay. I guess if they get buffed this patch, so 4% dispersion.
True. Massive.
It's huge. I don't really, I mean, you have to probably look at this list for around like at least half an hour and say, okay, this is overvalued, this is undervalued,
Well, so I had a hand in doing these, so maybe I'll say I'll say what I think, and then you can tell me if you disagree or not. So, as far as battleships go, I think it's more or less okay. I think Mecklenburg at 66 is a little bit cheap. It's like quite a bit cheaper than all the other battleships. And even though it doesn't have overmatch, even though it doesn't have like the biggest health pool, it's still a battleship at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And like it can do a job. Same with Slava. Like, yeah, Slava's not a great pick for comp, but it's still, 66 points. So you can, create some pretty you can pick one of those two BBs and still pick some really strong cruisers and still have enough points left over. In terms of cruisers, this is kind of where... So I had a lot of opinions on some of these ship picks that was generally kind of disagreed with. So by the rest of the guys. So I want to hear your take on it. Like,
okay.
For example, I think Des Moines at 55, Des Moines and Salem at 55, which is the same price as Moskva, is too much. I think it's too much.
Yeah, honestly,
Especially
I mean,
especially Salem. Like I can sort of get Des Moines because, you know, you put it on a rock, 10-kilometer long duration radar, okay, whatever. But Salem, like it's got a very specific niche, right? You put it on like a flank to 1v1 another cruiser. That's basically what it does. And it's as much as a Moskva, which has 12-kilometer radar and is insanely tanky, and you can, in my opinion, do a lot more things with a Moskva.
they also recently nerfed Des Moines, by the way, radar like duration. It's not
Oh,
like
that's
crazy.
true.
It's not like crazy, but they did like 5 seconds or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm surprised. I'm still surprised. Like Annapolis is the same price as Des Moines IMO.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
it's because you can like get it like killed or something like perma, right?
yeah, you
Okay.
can lose it forever.
I mean, Des Moines still okay, I think.
And it was also to incentivize people to bring the super ships, because if they were like, if you gave them the actual cost of what like they should be, they would be, you know, a Conde would be more expensive than a battleship, and like nobody would take it, right? Because it's just too expensive.
Yeah,
like the rest of the comp would be crap, and people want, you know, kind of want to see the super ships being played. So that's like one, or I guess two ships that I think are a little too high. I also think that Genon Genon is like the cheapest ship at 22. 22 is the lowest.
With Gibraltar, yeah. I'm surprised guys should actually let Gibraltar be 22. He loves that thing, though.
I don't think he actually does. He just likes to meme on me because I think it's
okay.
junk.
It's garbage.
And he played one game in it, had a good game, and was like, "Oh yeah, it's really good."
It's
Shut
really
up,
good.
man.
It's really good. It's really good.
It's junk, man. Gibraltar's junk. But Genon, like, don't get me wrong, Genon's not amazing.
It's
but
not
I think
bad
I can
though.
make,
like you can hold the push with it.
Yeah, I think you can make a pretty solid comp with a Genon. Like it's got smoke, and it's got 40 deep water torpedoes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So like, I think Genon is going to be like a really popular pick.
You know, it's like pushing into like 4 Yangs.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Genon's a bit cheap, to be honest. But I mean, really and truly, we haven't really seen it in comp, so maybe that's why it's super cheap. I mean, Austin's fairly cheap because it's like garbage in comp.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Austin is junk, and I think it's fine that it's 22. But like, I would much rather take a Genon than an Austin. I would rather take a Genon than a Colbert, and a Colbert is 28. I'd rather take a Genon than a Zhao. Zhao is 30. Like,
yeah, Zhao's 30.
There's a lot of ships that I would take Genon over. So I think Genon is a little bit undervalued, and I think we're going to see a decent amount of them. The one other cruiser that I think is pretty low is Plymouth. 30. We talked a lot about this.
30.
Let's be real. Plymouth, as you like to call it, is not a great ship.
It's not great, but it has spoken radar.
Exactly. It brings a lot of utility.
I think, like, even though it doesn't have a big like a hail as Minotaur, it's harder to like one shot. You know what I mean? In a way.
And it's only a 9-kilometer radar, but it has smoke and radar. Like, you can do stuff with a Plymouth, right? Same thing as Genon, kind of like you can do. It brings stuff to the table that is valuable in comp. Smoke, radar. Genon brings a lot of torpedoes. Like, you can make good comps around that, around those ships. As far as DDs, I think the DDs are actually pretty well balanced for the most part. Druid and Elbing are the cheapest, which makes sense because they're pretty junk in comp.
Yeah.
But so I think they're fine being the lowest. Where
I think
Smiling is
Shim was like 38. Shim was 38.
Yeah. You think that's too cheap?
I think Shim was a bit too cheap. No. I mean, like Summers is 43, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Well, summer we made the smoke DDs like all the same price.
I guess
Like
okay, okay.
you see Gearing, Haru, Summers are all 43
Except Yu Yang,
because
because it offers like radar or something in the deep water TRB. Because it's actually Yu Yang is actually really fairly balanced at 50 because it offers so
yeah,
much now.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And
Holla,
I think
bro.
Grozavoy might be a wee bit low. I think Grozavoy could be like the meta cheap-ish destroyer
Holla,
because it's
bro.
please no. Talon is
28,
so
bro.
junk.
How's it
Talon is so
28?
junk
Thoughts?
because it's junk.
It should be like 21, dude.
Oh,
I
you know,
guess
it should be lower.
I guess it has source, but
We talked about that. If Hound was lower, then why would you take a druid or an Elbing over a Howland? Because it has better spotting, it has a heal, it has like
yeah.
torpedoes that
Yeah.
you can spam. Like it's still a good
I
value
mean,
pick,
yeah.
but I would rather take, for example, Hayate is 28. I think Hayate is really good value for 28.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have the best conceal.
That's good guns. Good
It has okay
torps.
conceal. It has Shima torps. It has smoke. Like Hayate and Grozavoy are my like cheap spotting DD picks that I think we'll definitely see a fair amount. And beyond that, I mean, I think we spent a lot of time on this.
Definitely. But there's a lot to
I,
talk about.
for sure.
I think we
I
talked
think
about winners, like goods, right? Thoughts before we kind of end the segment.
the prizes.
Yeah, no?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that, well, from what I know is you can get a t-shirt, correct? Warships Masters t-shirt with your clan logo and name on the back. This is if you win, correct? Only.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it does look actually really good. The logo is very good.
The logo's nice, yeah.
It's very nice. And you get steel, obviously. I don't know how much. The balloons, I don't know how much. And powerful. I like how they phrase this. Powerful economic bonuses. What do you think about that?
Oh god, we could probably do a segment at some point about the economic rework. I think that would be a good thing to talk about.
Probably next week. Actually, the week after,
Yeah,
because next week we
the
won't be
week after,
here.
yeah. Because I actually like it personally, but streamers want it.
Damn. Unfortunately, I'll be gone. GG. Thoughts?
GG, man.
But yeah, these are the Twitch drops you can get by watching the streamers, of course. And that's pretty much it. And then here's an article on how to connect your wargaming account so you can get Twitch drops, you get free stuff for free.
Make sure you guys watch it because it's
Yeah.
gonna be really fun. It's a tournament that has always received a lot of positive feedback from the clans that have played in it because of the unique format. Because it's run by a clan that's been super competitive. Up there with 07 as the best clans in NA for a very long time, and just really fun. So yeah, definitely check it out. August 6th and August 7th.
Yeah.
So that's about it for what we have to talk about on our agenda. There is one other thing that we wanted to talk about, which is a segment that we're going to be doing on every episode, a Q&A section. So basically, if you have any questions that you want to ask Malta or me, or Kevin for some reason, if you want to ask him a question,
Damn,
send
bro.
send your questions in the YouTube comments, or you can send it to us on Discord or whatever. However you want to send us the questions, send us the questions. And we'll try to answer as many questions as we can at the end of each podcast. Ideally, they're like game related, but you could also ask questions about us, personally, not too personal, weirdos.
Yeah, not too personal, yeah.
But yeah, you want to know more about stuff or you have some questions, I think it'll be fun to answer you guys' questions. and a nice way for all of us to connect.
Yeah, some community interaction. Thoughts?
We love community interaction.
Community interaction, yeah.
And also, I just thought of it. If, for example, you want to see a certain guest being brought on, because like we said before, we didn't bring a guest on this week, but we do plan to have a guest on every episode in all the upcoming episodes. So if you really want to see a specific guest, throw that in there too. And we'll see if we can, get our top tier producer on it and bring a guy in to talk about stuff with.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just leave them in the comments or something, or maybe come on our stream. Well, not really on our stream, I would say, because we'd be actually just playing the game and we wouldn't write them down. But let's see if you can. We'll make a channel somewhere on Discord where it's podcast related, and you just throw feedback or something for us to get better or whatever in this regard, and for guests to come on, and maybe segments you guys would be interested in, and obviously questions for us to answer every week if possible. Keep in mind, next week we won't have an episode because I'll be gone, of course, and maybe Bison will be busy with his WMI casting maybe. So we'll be back in 2 weeks time, but we're going to plan them for every week if possible, right, Bison? So that should be
absolutely
relatively easy to do, yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode, and we look forward to bringing you many more episodes to come in the future.